Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Today's video we are cutting this huge piece of crystal opal. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are cutting this massive piece of dark crystal opal. I found it on opalauctions.com. The reason I bought it is because I have a client that's looking for big, bright, beautiful opal, and I thought this was just the piece for them. It is currently just a rub, so the miner has taken off all the potch, things like that, so it already has a rough shape. It just needs the scratches removed, the shape perfected, and a high polish placed on the piece. So I don't have much of a difficult job today, although those could be famous last words because I might butcher the shape completely, but I trust my experience to be able to eye that up pretty well. You can be the judge of that. Let me know in the comments at the end of the video if you think I've done a good job or not. It is an absolute behemoth. So to give you an idea as to how much it weighs, I'll pop it on the scale now. 20.66 carats. It's huge. It's obviously designated for a pendant. So let's grab the lucky hat and let's jump across and cut this behemoth of a crystal opal. So as you can see, it's very large and it already has a teardrop-esque shape. If I zoom in, if it focuses, there we go. Obviously the backside's pretty. Problem is it has this dead spot here, so this can't be the face of the opal. It has to be this side where the play of color is more prominent. This dead spot does obviously light up at the certain angles. Look at that. It's a stunning crystal opal. Now it has sand spots. What I might be able to achieve, because it's quite a thick piece of seam opal, I might have the ability to flatten this back and then take out these sand spots along with it. But what I'm more leaning towards is the idea of dremeling them out, therefore keeping the weight of the opal, because it's not often you can put an opal in your hand and really feel the solidity of it. So let's jump across to the workshop where we can begin to perfect this and just see the final result. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. First things first for me to do here is to begin to make the perfect symmetrical shape. As I've said in previous videos, an opal that's symmetrical sells a lot better, so that's the first task for today. I'm pressing very lightly on the wheels. I don't want to take too much material off, as when you're playing the game of opal, it's a game of weight, so the more weight you can retain, the better your yield. Here I'm rolling the setting edge already. The setting edge is just having a slight camber on the side of your opal, so the jeweler, when they're setting it, whether it's claw or bezel, will have a edge on which they can bend the bezel or the claws over. I'm having a quick touch up on the backside here just to begin to even it out, making my job later on a bit easier. Moving over to the 400 grit wheel, I'm just rounding off those edges again and also beginning to take the scratches out of the face of the opal here. It's important to dry the opal thoroughly and then look at it under a loupe. This really exposes any scratches that are left in the face. I look at it from multiple angles just to make sure I'm catching the light in the right way. There were some scratches still in the face, so I jump back onto the 400 grit wheel to take those out. Opal is a meticulous game. It's about perfection, so I have to make sure the scratches are out from every wheel. So 400 has to remove the scratches from the previous, 600 from the 400. Here this grey wheel you can see is the 1200 grit, and that's taking the scratches out that's left behind by the 600 grit wheel. So this is the semi-finished product. It doesn't have its final coat of cerium oxide yet, because I'm going to do that once I figure out what to do with the backside of the opal. It's quite thick, so there's a lot of material to play with, but like I mentioned before, these sand spots are going to change my approach to taking those out. I think this bottom one here, where my left thumb is, I'll be able to take out on the polishing wheel, but these are most definitely going to require a Dremel, so I'll have to do that when I come around to doing the backside. But I do need to have a couple more rounds of the wheel go across it, because if you can see, if I position it correctly, do you see right in the middle of the opal there's almost like a let me see if I can get something to point with. If you look about here at the end of the key, there's still a scratch in the face. Now, this is one of the problems when you're buying rubbed opals, pre-rubbed opals. The person that was rubbing the opal beforehand might have used coarser wheels than were initially necessary, so they leave deep scratches in the opal which require some effort to take out without losing too much material. Let me just go and take out the final scratches. I'll put the final polish on, and then we can discuss what I think I'm going to do with the backside of the opal there. I'm using some fresh cerium oxide. That will give me a better polish for a large piece like this opal. As you've seen, I've done the whole polishing process by hand. I haven't used a dop stick like I do in the past, because when I'm working on larger opal, I find it easier. Now the cerium oxide has been applied, you can see it's a lot shinier. It's got that mirrored effect for a nice high polish on the opal. Obviously the backside, still ugly, but that doesn't matter. We now know what the final opal will look like. Beautiful teardrop, just stunning. Right, polish is done, backside isn't, not a problem. We can do that at a later point. It's hard to overstate this opal. It's pretty mesmerizing. Nice dark body tone, blue hues, green play of color. It has flagstone and chaff in there. It's going pretty well. I got lucky in the sense that the more I was polishing it, as in the more I was grinding it on the wheels, the brighter the color was getting. I don't want to risk taking any more in the hopes of finding deeper, brighter color, because the chances are, from experience, it goes from dull to being bright to being dull again. So I'm in the sweet spot, let's stay there. In terms of how much it weighs now, I did have to take quite a lot of material off in order to be able to perfect the shape, and because of that deep scratch that I showed a close-up of, that was a lot deeper than I'd hoped, but again, not much I can do about that. That's not my fault. I had to go quite deep to be able to take those out. So a lot of material has come off. The closer to 20 carats, the better. It started at 20.66. If I'm a gambling man, which I'm not, I'd put my money on it being, oh, I don't know, somewhere between 19 and 20 carats. I'm gonna guess 19.2. It's 19.745. So I haven't even lost a whole carat yet, trying to achieve what I'm achieving. So that's brilliant. That's really good news. In terms of the backside, I have concerns about that sand spot. It goes quite deep and it has to come out, because you can, I mean, it's difficult, but you can see it from the other side. So I have to get it out. So I'll have to move to a Dremel now, remove those spots, even out the back, and we'll have a finished product ready for the client. Little victory sip, although as I said, it's not over yet. Don't panic, we got this. I don't often use a Dremel, so I'm being very cautious here, not applying too much pressure. The aim of the game is to remove the sand spot out so it's not visible from the front of the opal. I don't need to go too deep, but I do need to get the majority of the sand out. speeding up this footage because it took me a lot longer than I expected, but that's expected. That's because I'm not used to using a Dremel. Okay, as you can see, I've taken the majority of the sand spots out. Very deep into these, let's call them crevices. There's still those sand spots, but I'm worried if I go any deeper, then, sorry, I've got smudges on the main face. If I go any deeper, it's going to compromise the stability of the stone. Right now, it's still fine. Like, I can still apply pressure. It's not going to crack. It's just if I go any further, then it's going to create a weak spot. And there's no need to go any further because from the front, you can't see those sand spots anymore. This bottom one here, I've managed to take out with the Dremel as well. Hence the slight dip there. But these sand spots there and up here, I'll be able to take out on the lapidary wheels, on the Cab King wheels, sorry, leaving me with a perfect stone where you can't see any inclusions from the face, which is exactly what luxury needs, is perfection. So let's roll with that. I'll take those out and the stone will be finished. So here we are, just finishing off the backside of the opal, making sure it's nice and even, so when the jeweler makes a mount, it sits there nice and flush. And of course, I'm taking out those sand spots I mentioned a second ago. And here is the final result. So I've evened out the back. If I zoom in, you'll see what work I did. Here we go. So those sand spots, they went quite deep. There are minute bits of them left. Now it does make the back quite undulated, but obviously I've evened it off now. So the back had quite a, almost had a cabochon of its own. This side was rolling in, this side was not. So I've had to even out the dome on the back, because when you're setting an opal, or any gemstone for that matter, but particularly opals, when you're setting them in jewelry, the back needs to be very even so they don't have to mess with the mounts too much. So it's a nice light work, easy job to be able to make a nice mount for them. I did leave bits of the sand spot in for two reasons. One, they're not noticeable, you can't see them from the front anymore. And two, if I went any deeper to remove those sand spots, I was slightly worried that the stability of the stone would be impacted. So because you can't see them, it makes a perfect gem at the front and still holds the integrity and the strength of the stone. So there's nothing flimsy or fragile about it. It's still very strong. So the final cut on the opal is complete. It's time to weigh it up to see the total yield. When I was evening that back, I had to take off quite a lot of material. It's important that I have a back that's even and I'm not just keeping it as heavy as possible and leaving the jeweler with some painful task on their hands. So final result is, I mean, that's a lot better than I expected. 18.625 carats. So round it down, 18.6 carats. It's a stunning dark crystal opal. It has lots of play of colour in the face, even play of colour on the backside. Maybe if my client wants it, I'll polish it on the rear as well, but that'll be up to them. But it's been a success. I've theoretically increased its value by polishing it from the rub that it started at, but the value increase isn't enormous because, let's be honest, I haven't cut it from the rough, I haven't taken a massive gamble. I still know the stone. When you buy it as a rub, you know the stone you're getting, so I haven't made a huge gamble or a massive gambling investment. I knew that I'd end up with this gem pretty much anyway. The fact that it's 18.6 carats is a bonus, so I'm happy with the result. Thank you very much guys for tuning in. That will be the end of the video today. Subscribe if you want to watch weekly opal content. Remember to comment, let me know your thoughts on the piece down below. Like the video so it's recommended to more people and all that jazz. All in all, thanks very much and I'll see you in a week's time.